Go home, go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home, go hard, go home. Yeah, these championship rings on my hands now. In my head I'm top 10, yeah, that's hands down. You a squad, know you're looking man down. Funny how foes turn to friends now. Drive a race car like a Atari now. Car filling up, I need product again. Treat the business like a playground, might slide on you. Don't me wrong, might slide on you. Do a backflip, cause I'm mad rich. I'm the definition of what that is. Go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home.
Welcome to another week of the Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. I'm overwhelmed with excitement. It's me, Tim Wayne. I got my boy Gandhi, aka Harish. We about to get into it. We want to get straight into it. Listen, we're less than 24 hours away. We're less than 24 hours away from game day. It's been so long.
Game day is actually 6.5 hours away. Kickoff is about 21 hours away.
Excuse me. Whoop, almost dropped the light here. I'm that excited. Listen, we want to cover some things. Apologies for not coming in on a Thursday like we normally do. Hey, life happens, but listen, we still want to get the best Longhorn news that you could possibly get, and the only way you can get that information is through fanbattlesports.com for all your Longhorn news. My man Harish has also got a thriving podcast over there as well, where they talk about the AFC South, and then you can find that at Longhorn Fan Battle Sports as well. Also, make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe, and follow us on Twitter at LHF Fan Battle. Let me tell you. Let me pause right quick. My man Harish, you've been putting in work on the Fan Battle Twitter. Normally that's a me thing, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, normally that's a me thing, but you, sir, have been putting in work. I also want to thank you for putting in the work to get some potential guests in line. You're really good at networking. That's one of the things that are one of your strengths, right? I think you do that very, very well. You like to mix and mingle, and you don't mind getting in there with strangers and talking to them. So I applaud you for that. I would say also want to make another thing here, as I'm giving you all this praise. I don't know if you guys know, again, me and Harish have known each other for a very long time. And we've had some really, really good debates about sports, whether it's been on the phone, whether it's been on an Xbox, whether it's been in person, or even at a Puckers with an ex-Longhorn. That podcast that we did with Steve from Fanatic Perspective is probably one of the best sports conversations I've ever had, like hands down.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And shout out to Steve from Fanatic Perspective.
Right.
If you guys not had a chance to check it out, he put out his preview with his co-host Tran. Fanatic Perspective, they have their preview for Texas versus Rice. Yeah, absolutely. You know, networking is something, and just talking to people is just something I like to do.
Right.
When I can do it behind a screen with no face, it's a lot more fun. So it's and it's also a lot more easier. So,
right.
Currently lining out some more guests for the show. I've got another one that we're boiling up right now. If you are an Austin local, if you know the Austin sports radio scene, you've followed it, you've been in it, you've listened to it, you're gonna enjoy our next guest on the show.
I mean, when you sent that message last night, not necessarily confirming, but just like, hey, this is a possibility. I really got excited because this guy's been a part of an Austin staple. But yeah, I just want to give you a praise, not only behind, but definitely in front. Like you've definitely put in a lot of work, and I just want people to know that you are one of the main reasons on why we look like this. Again, thanks to Fan Battle Sports for allowing me to jump on the team. I'm really appreciative, and I'm glad to be here. But let's get into the nitty gritty. Over the night,
strikes again.
It struck again. And I mean, this was like a thief in the night. When did I send you that message? Like 2 or 3 in the morning?
Like it was late last night.
It was late. It was rather late. Well, we've got a couple of, I would say, weird teams, just not what I was thinking. Geographically speaking, we have some teams joining the ACC. One was Stanford. SMU, Southern Methodist University, which is in Dallas, or SMU for those who don't know. And what was that third one? I can't remember that third one. Cal. So they will not be joining the Big 12, which I thought that's what they should have done. Or even trying to see if they can get into the Big 10. Obviously, the Big 10 doesn't want them. So now they're going to go ahead and jump over from one coast, from the West Coast, hit SMU while you're on the way over there, dead center in the middle of this. Pick them up, and then head on to the Atlantic coast. When I tell you these conferences are getting more and more weirder looking by the day, you know, one of the things that we harp on, and I've definitely harped on, is tradition, right? Well, it looks like based on how this is going, because even with the teams still kind of staying in the region, you could still kind of have those, you know, those regional matchups or those big time rivalry games. From the looks of it, this is kind of going out the window. You know, with Cal jumping over into the ACC, and with SMU, and along with Cal, SMU, and Stanford. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting them. Them jumping ship. You know, I don't necessarily know if Cal is going to continue to try to do a one-and-one with UCLA. I'm sorry, not UCLA, with USC. That rivalry game seems like it's going to be gone. Like, but it's all about the dollar, right? The ACC is trying to position themselves to be the third strongest conference, and now with the realignment, I think that they've solidified themselves to be third, right? Don't you think?
From a power perspective, I don't think it does anything for anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still going to be the SEC and the Big Ten. It doesn't. I think honestly, I think you kind of put yourself at risk to be even weaker.
Right.
And this is the reason why. Florida State, they're out of here. They're leaving. Right. I think they've already made it clear that they were against making this move. Number one, and they're not happy that the move was made. Right.
Right.
So the ACC basically Texas, Florida State, right? They were basically like the Big 12 did to Texas, right? As far as weakening the conference.
Yeah, forcing them.
I think the winner in this whole move. Yeah, I think the winner in this move was actually SMU.
Oh, SMU is a big time winner. You get Clemson in the state of Texas.
Yep.
You get all your SEC opponents in the state of Texas.
Yep.
Well, not all of them, but a lot of your ACC. Yeah, you get a few of your ACC opponents, and a lot of those guys. I mean, and Harish, you can tell me more because you've lived on the East Coast around that fall time, for a period of time.
I was like 4 years old.
Right, but you still if it was hot or not. You've been over there.
It's cool right now. Yeah, definitely.
Right. It's definitely not 102. Tomorrow the game's gonna be at 2:30. It's gonna be 102, 103 degrees outside.
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah, and then let's not take it to the effect that field is AstroTurf. Yep. So that's even more heat. So we're looking at 120 on the field. So that's a different type of ball game. When Dallas, it gets just as hot, sometimes even hotter. So they have an opportunity weather-wise to get in there and really do some damage if teams aren't properly hydrated or they're not used to it from a weather standpoint. That's the one thing that I would say that Notre Dame has always had. They've always had a magnificent stadium. Their stadium is magical. But during those years, those years where they had championship runs, when you go and watch some of their games in like the 80s and the 90s and stuff, man, where they were really, really doing things, those games were cold. They were messy, rainy. You had Rocket Ismail with mud all over him and stuff. Like that weather is a big factor. So I think from that standpoint, I think it's a great factor. Also, from a transfer perspective, you get some kid that comes down to Clemson and he's not necessarily liking what's going on. Hey, you could come to Texas. We got some stuff over. We might be able to work out some NIL deals where we may be able to do something, work something out for you. We may be able to, set you up with a home, no state taxes, no property, low property taxes. So, this is something to think about. And we're thinking from a Texans perspective. So that is definitely something SMU can use. California,
look, it's easy for SMU now. They now have yeah, sure, you can come to Texas, but from an SMU perspective, they now have credibility. They now have something they can put their backbone on, right?
Yeah.
Why do you need to go to Clemson? Why do you need to go to Texas? There's a lot of competition out here. You can come to SMU, you can play, and you can play in a Power 5 conference now.
Yeah, that's true.
Why do you need to leave Dallas and go to Austin? You can do it right here.
Absolutely. Right?
And then on the other side, Houston, which, I don't know why you want to go to UH, but Houston, why do you need to leave Houston? Why do you need to go to Austin? You can come do it in the Big 12 right here.
Right.
Now, Texas can now say, well, yeah, that's cool.
We're in the SEC.
I get to go play in the SEC.
You're not playing Alabama. That's not happening.
Yeah.
You're
playing Utah. You're playing, which by the way, Utah, I think Utah's going to do some damage in the Big 12.
We're going to get to that later. We'll talk about that. We're definitely going to get the Power 5. We're going to talk about Power 5 conferences today, guys.
That's a conversation for a different day.
Right. That's up next.
Yeah. So, but conference year alignment. So you get Cal, you get Stanford. I don't think it makes geographically. This is absolutely stupid. It doesn't make any geographical sense. But
yeah, that is true.
But even if you think about the Big Ten, though, I mean those moves didn't make any sense geographically either.
No, not at all.
It's all about money and exposure for these conferences. Mm-hmm. It's now a race, right? Who's going to be first to get the best, right?
Right.
And it's basically that's all it's turned into. So I think SMU probably benefits more than anybody else. Honestly, I was surprised Cal or Stanford even cared.
Really?
From a football perspective, Stanford and Cal don't care about football, man. They care about athletics.
So here's the thing. Stanford, first off, Stanford's baseball team, Stanford's volleyball team, Stanford's swim team, they're all very good. So like I know we're talking predominantly football, but they do have other sports that they are dominant in.
Football dominates everything, and they don't.
Football does dominate everything. It does generate the most money predominantly in these bigger schools. That is true. I'm just thinking outside of the box, right? You're just like, Stanford sucks. I'm just like, yo, let's bring it in.
No. I'm not saying Stanford sucks, because they've definitely been good in football.
Right.
But when you talk about what their focus is and what they care about, I'm actually surprised that they even cared to be in a power conference. I think maybe it was just about staying in a power conference because they were already there.
Right.
But at the end of the day, but hey, profit sharing could also be a big part of this, right? You want to keep money generated coming in. I think that makes sense as well. But geographically, this is a stupid move from all teams. For the ACC, I guess gets West Coast exposure, but
right.
Again, listen. At the end of the day, nobody's staying up to watch Cal versus Duke. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. Nobody cares.
All right. Well, we just wanted to again fill you guys in on that. It's definitely something that we have to cover. Anytime you have conference realignment and it just kind of happened out of nowhere, again, it was very late. I definitely should have been asleep. You were probably asleep, which is crazy because you're normally up all night.
No, I didn't go to sleep till about 2 last night, and I was up at 5:30, so I had to go. Make sure some documents were in line so I can go to Mexico this weekend.
Yes, sir. But yeah. So anyway, moving right along, we're gonna get to the meat of the show, and we're not gonna harp on it very long because, of course, we have other things that we want to get to. But we do have the conference championships that we would like to go ahead and predict. Now, have you put? How do we want to start? We want to go in alphabetical order? Do we want to do ACC, Big 12?
Start regionally. You start west to east.
Okay. So we can start with the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And who do you have in the Pac-12? And guys, we're only focusing on the Power 5. We won't be focusing on any other small conferences or anything like that. If they make any splashes or make any moves, definitely we'll talk about them as that happens throughout the season. But for right now, we're going to be focusing on just the Power 5 and the playoffs. So, my man, give me who you have. Who do you have winning in the what is that? The Pac-12. The last year of the Pac-12.
I think it's pretty obvious. I'm gonna take USC and Utah.
Okay.
And then I'm actually gonna take USC winning the Pac-12.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, I have the same. I have USC and Utah. I think they're the predominant favorites. I do think if USC slips up, you guys should definitely look out for Oregon. They do have a lot of weapons. Bo Nix has been there for 40 years now. So he's gotta be there.
It's been there it's actually what is this his third year there? Second year there?
It's his third year there. He spent 2 years at Auburn, 3 years at Auburn, if I'm not mistaken. So this may be like his 6th year in like college as a quarterback.
Yeah, because he was at Auburn for 2 years, I think.
Yeah, maybe I think one of those years, I think it was 3 because I think one of those 3 years was the COVID year.
Yes.
So he got that 1 year of eligibility back and then transferred over.
Yeah. That's the thing with a lot of these guys that have been there for like 4 or 5 years now. That COVID year, a lot of these guys are still taking advantage of that COVID year.
Right.
They got 2 COVID years.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm happy that these guys have been able to take advantage of it because it just helps them
go
out
for it.
in the long run. You know, if you can continue to play at a high level and you don't have to worry about,
Yep.
the pot, like as much as if you can build your draft stock up, if you want to go to the next level, take as much time as you can. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Especially if they can get as much tape on you, even if you get drafted in a lower round, like a 5th or 6th round, they've got tape on you. They've got enough tape on you to be like, we know what you can do very well, and we know what you can work on. And that sometimes that's a really good thing. People just don't realize that Colt McCoy's been in the league for 12 years. He just got cut, and the only reason he got cut is because we believe the Arizona Cardinals are tanking. That's another podcast for another day. But yeah, I'm glad that Bo Nix is one of those guys. Also, he's one of my Heisman dark horses. It's a quarterback reward. Definitely think Bo Nix, and I think the Pac-12 has collectively they have the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yes,
they have the best quarterbacks.
The other team I'd look out for is Oregon State.
Oh, DJ.
Your boy DJ. What a plastic fan. You didn't even know that DJ went to Oregon State. You're a Clemson fan and you had no idea that DJ.
Whoa. You put my business out in the street, dog. Why you doing that, bro?
So yeah, I think Oregon State is another team to look out for. But at the end of the day, I think Utah and USC are the obvious favorites in the conference. I've got USC winning the conference. Who do you have winning the conference?
For which one are we talking about?
The Pac-12.
Yeah.
You didn't say who had
I'm sorry. Utah. Utah is going to win for me. If you didn't catch the game last night, which I know a lot of you guys didn't, because if you had Spectrum, you didn't get to watch the game.
Really?
Yeah, there was a whole spat before that where Spectrum and Disney got into it. So Spectrum blacked out the game for Utah and Florida right before the game started. So they let them do all the coverage. They let them all of that out the way and then hit the switch. So a lot of people did not get to watch that game last night. Which, by the way, Utah put on a show last night. They looked way better than Florida.
Okay. So we're gonna speak on this real quick. Is it that Utah put on a show,
or is Florida that
Florida sucks? Because I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Florida, they had so many busted plays yesterday. Yeah. They ran for 13 yards. We're not going to get that. We're going to keep it going.
Utah should have won that by if Cameron Rising was playing, they would have won by 40. Honestly,
for sure.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it was that Arizona State's interesting too.
Arizona State is interesting. Arizona State is definitely interesting.
Shout out to Logan Cook. I hope we're crushing it. Hey man, we're out here trying.
Logan, what's up, my man? It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. All right, go on to the next.
Let's get to some the nitty-gritty here.
Okay.
Let's go Big Ten. Let's go Big Ten.
Big Ten's interesting.
Big Ten is very interesting. The Big Ten is very interesting. Now, I think I could be wrong, but from what I've seen over the last couple of years, you run into teams, everybody has that number, that one team that has their number. Remember we talked about last week when Steve was here from a Fanatic perspective, we talked about Maryland just not necessarily boat racing us, but just somehow they just had our number. BYU a couple years ago in that Mac Brown era, that final couple years, they just seem to have an edge on Texas. Don't necessarily know what it is. Some people from USC could say the same thing about Texas having an edge over USC. For just over history in the previous matchups. I think Michigan really has Ohio State's number.
Yeah, they won the last 2 times.
They won the
convincingly last 2 times.
Too. Right. Very, very much convincingly.
Last year's game was close.
Last year's game was close. But you can clearly see who the more physical team was.
Right. And Michigan ended up pulling away at the end, right?
Right. I think that changes this year. I think because they're gonna play again. They're gonna play twice, basically. Because they always meet.
They can't play twice. They're in the same division.
You're right. I'm sorry.
I think next year they're getting rid of the divisions.
I'm pretty sure they're getting rid of the division. I keep thinking about the Big 12. I don't know why I'm thinking about the Big 12. I think this year, I think Ohio State gets over the hump. Now, I'm not going to say that with a lot of confidence. I don't have a lot of confidence in this pick. I'm not going to lie. But I think at one point in time, you have to, as a coach, people start to try to pump you up to get you ready for the season. They need to give you some what I call fish food. They need to get you something to get you hungry and get you ready for the season. Those 2 games for those seniors that are getting ready to leave, Marvin Harrison Jr. Hey, you've been here at Ohio State for X amount of years. You've lost to Michigan twice. Like those type of like billboard messages I think is what is going to propel Ohio State into the championship, where they will play Penn State and they will beat Penn State.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to tell you you're wrong, but
all right.
I think Michigan's just that much better than Ohio State.
Okay.
Ohio State doesn't have a quarterback. Well, they do have a quarterback. Everybody has a quarterback. We don't know who it is.
Right.
I think you will start to see that the narrative has always been that the wide receivers have made CJ Stroud, right?
Right.
I think this year you're going to see that CJ Stroud actually was just as good, if not propelling the wide receivers as well. Marvin Harrison Jr. is great.
Okay.
Here's the thing. The one thing, and as a guy that really wanted CJ Stroud, one thing that CJ, and you're seeing it in Texans camp, the one thing CJ Stroud does really, really well, and it was really, really praised on, is ball placement.
Right. He
threw some really, really pretty balls, even against Georgia in that semifinal.
Oh yeah, he dropped a couple of balls in dropped a couple of dimes in the bucket.
You're going to start to notice this year that it wasn't just the wide receivers that propelled Ohio State.
Man,
it was CJ Stroud as well.
That's a hell of a statement, my man.
With that being said, I think Michigan runs away with that division.
So wait.
One team I would look out for is Penn State, and if Penn State can win one of them, because they play both, they play Michigan State and Ohio State.
Right.
Penn State actually has a really good quarterback. Have 2 really, really good running backs that are coming back.
Right.
They've got a defense that they can build on.
Right. And playing in Penn State. Aren't they playing Ohio State and
they play? I was just checking the schedule. I think they go to Michigan.
Okay.
But then, no, they go to Ohio State. Then Penn State goes to Michigan, I believe. No, they're home versus Michigan. They go to Ohio State. So we'll see. And I think against Ohio State last year, for the most part, they were actually leading that.
Yeah.
For the most
part.
We watched
the game together, if I'm not mistaken.
Both games they were actually in control of, and then they lost both of those games.
Right. The Michigan game, I remember that because they just Michigan just kind of steamrolled them at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Like
Michigan's big, they're tough, they're strong. They just lean on you, right? And that's basically what they'll do. I think JJ McCarthy takes a step forward this year.
JJ McCarthy is we're gonna hate to see him leave college football because we're gonna think so much about how much like they run the ball, and he'll get out there, he'll scamper around, you know what I mean, and run. But he's really been a really strong quarterback for Michigan these last couple of years, and
he has, and he's grown in the process.
Right, we've overlooked it quite a bit.
Yep,
because they've had a phenomenal running game these last couple of years. But man, that guy,
and they still do.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is if he does decide like, hey, I'm going to go to the next level, like somebody, right now they're only talking about 2 or 3 quarterbacks. Somebody's going to get if he slips and he goes somewhere like New England or something like that, they might be in for a rude awakening, whoever division he ends up in. But yeah.
Yeah.
So you
I
have Michigan running away.
I have
I
Michigan
have
winning
Ohio
the
State.
conference. I actually have Michigan playing Wisconsin.
What?
Yeah.
Man, okay, all right. That was not what I was thinking, though.
I have Michigan playing Wisconsin, and I look at Wisconsin's schedule. They don't play anybody out here. Here's who they play. They play Rutgers. They play Purdue. They play Iowa. They play Illinois. They play Ohio State. But then they play Indiana, Northwestern, Nebraska, Minnesota. They're running. Yeah.
Right.
And they have they have Lou Fickle.
Hey man. Hey
man. Lou Fickle plays some defense, bro.
Luke Fickle can get it done. You know what I'm saying? We know.
Yeah.
We know from experience.
Yeah. I have Michigan. I have Michigan versus Nebraska and Michigan taking it. Or Michigan versus Wisconsin.
I was going to say, I know you just didn't say Nebraska.
Listen here, Nebraska next year we'll see, because we know what homeboy Matt Rule can do in year 2 of it.
Yeah, he's really we've experienced that as well. He's what he did at Baylor within year 2, that defensive line was nuts.
So next year Nebraska, we'll see. But this year Nebraska, it's a little work in progress. But yeah, right. I'll take Michigan versus Wisconsin.
Okay, that's cool. Next conference, let's skate on over. We're gonna go a little further east, and then we'll come back down south.
I was figuring if that's what you were gonna do. All right, go for it.
ACC. Who you got?
Florida State versus whoever. I don't care. I think Florida State wins the ACC.
You think Florida State wins the SEC? I mean, the ACC. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. You know, I'm rocking with Clemson.
Of course you are.
I'm going to rock with Clemson. I'm going to listen. And for all you Clemson fans, if there's any Clemson fans watching, welcome, first off. But secondly, I think if y'all are not in the conference title, which could definitely happen. I think there's some whispers about Dabo that start to happen, and I'm not saying that they're going to try to. I'm not saying he's on a hot seat, but I'm going to say, like, okay, there's going to be some murmurs, right? People are going to start like, wait, what's going on? Like, what are we going to do next? You know. Again, I'm not saying that it's time to hit the panic button, but you're definitely going to hear some whispers, and you're definitely going to hear some murmurs, and so I think that Clemson will be able to right the wrongs. Florida State is going to be the hardest test. A lot of people are on Florida State. This is a thing.
I'm very excited to see Florida State.
This is a thing right now.
Yeah.
Oh, also they have some great alternate uniforms, uniforms coming out.
They do.
So they got those running. But as for now, I have Clemson. I just don't see Miami doing it. So it's got to be Florida State. I think Miami's a couple years away. They got some really good talent in there in Miami. They stole some really big players from a lot of big schools. I remember they stole I want to say an offensive lineman from Alabama. They had some transfer
guys.
Yeah, they've been in the mix.
Miami's like Texas, man. Miami and Texas have always gotten talent. They just haven't gotten the coach that can be able to put it together. Because even like right before COVID, like 2019, 2020, there was some rumors of like, man, this Miami could be back.
Miami was supposed to be good with Derek King.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the Derek King year when he transferred over from U of H, but he unfortunately had that knee injury.
He couldn't stay healthy. Yeah, that year Derek transferred to Miami. They were like ranked in the top 10, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Until
he got hurt. They were actually looking pretty decent until that issue. But man, I just don't see Miami pulling it out right now. Yeah. And I think everybody knows. And like I said, the proverbial favorites, Clemson, Florida State. I've seen more people picking Florida State, jumping on that bandwagon for Florida State than I do Clemson. But I'm gonna stay on the
Chop,
ship.
baby.
I'm gonna stay on the Clemson ship, and I'm gonna rock with the Clemson ship until something changes.
Yeah,
So,
I think I don't know. I think Clemson's are going to come down to Cade Klubnik, Austin native, by the way.
right.
It's going to come down to. It's always going to. It always comes down to the quarterback, right? But it's going to come down to Cade Klubnik.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting that you say that there's going to be rumblings in Clemson if they don't do well this year. They won 10 games last year, despite everything that occurred.
Right. They did win 10 games.
But the thing is once you start winning, and then when things start coming below winning, then, people start to.
Right now, to me, Clemson, there's 3 to 4 teams in the country that are like, you need to be in the national championship or this is a failure. And it's been
like
the teams
every year?
that we have, it's been the 4 proverbial teams that we've seen every year. Clemson, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia. Like those guys, those 4, to me, if you're not competing for a national championship, even if you win your New Year's Six bowl game, even if you just get voted out just because of politics or whatever the case may be, it's a failure. It is a lot of fans, hardcore fans. The casual fan is not going to see it that way, but the hardcore fans, and that's what these 4 teams are. They have major fan bases that are hardcore fan bases. That's going to be a failure to them.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, nobody's going to remember who Clemson won against, but they're going to always remember who they lost against. Those two losses are going to hurt more than anything. And they were in the last bit, before the final vote. So, yeah,
I think it's fair.
Yeah. So we got ACC, we got the Big 12, not the Big 12. We got the ACC, the Big 10. We got Pac-12. Let's do the SEC. Let's do the SEC. What? Or do you want to do the Big 12? Do you want to do the Big 12?
No, we can do the SEC.
Let's do the SEC.
Yeah.
I think the proverbial runaway favorite. Let me retract that. So I thought about this.
I did too. This is hard.
I thought about this long and hard. And I'm finally gonna say it, and I'm gonna say it with I'm gonna put my chest out there. The SEC championship game is gonna be LSU versus Georgia.
Oh, I agree.
LSU versus now, Bama fans, I know what y'all are thinking. I think Alabama will be in the mix until the very last week.
I don't
know what you got Alabama going. I got Alabama at least.
I have them losing 3 games.
What 3 games?
We already have them losing to us. We both have them.
That's 1.
That's
right.
1. Alabama's got to play LSU. That's 2.
Right.
And I think they slip up. You got an Ole Miss. You have to go to Texas A&M.
Right.
You have to go. You never know. Arkansas. You never know. Arkansas has been a thorn in their side. You have to go to Auburn this year in the Iron Bowl.
Auburn is always.
And you're not significantly better than Auburn.
Yeah, man. Okay. I definitely had them losing 2 games. I definitely had Texas and LSU.
Yeah.
And that game,
slip up another one.
Again, that game is always late in the year. So when you're late in the year, you still got a chance until you actually lose that game. Yep. I think that puts LSU over the hump.
Yep.
Now, who I have winning it is still Georgia. I think they don't really face a threat. If you go and look at their schedule, they don't face a threat until until the conference championship game.
Yeah, I think the team that kind of steps back this year is Tennessee, right?
Right.
And Georgia plays Tennessee the second to last week of the season. Now, if Tennessee, here's the thing. I think Tennessee
is capable of pulling it off.
Yeah, they're capable, of course.
They've got talent.
They got a lot of talent. It's going to come down to the quarterback. He's got arm talent, but can he turn that? Tennessee is going to be the team to watch.
Right.
Because if the quarterback ends up being really good, I think Tennessee could beat Georgia.
Mm.
But it's going to come down to, I mean, it's the classic, he's got a strong arm. I think that's literally one of the dumbest arguments in sports.
Yeah.
Well, the guy's got a strong arm.
There's a lot of people strong arm.
Who cares if you
had
can
a strong arm?
Yeah.
He was not accurate.
Yeah. If you can't get the ball to the receiver's hands, I don't care if you can throw 80 yards. I really give two rats. I don't give a rat's ass. So there's that. I think it's going to be Georgia LSU. I would agree.
Right.
I don't know too much about Georgia's quarterback either.
Nope. I do
know Jaden Daniels is really good, but I'm going to take Georgia.
Yeah, I think, man,
that game on Sunday between LSU and Florida State, that's the game I'm most excited about this week.
I want to see what Jaden Daniels does.
Yeah.
If LSU, dog, listen, I don't like talking about rankings until we get to like November. If LSU, because they go to Florida State, right?
I believe so, yeah.
If they walk into Tallahassee,
yes, they do. Yeah.
And
no, it's in Orlando. It's a neutral site game.
Oh, well, we know LSU fans are going to travel. Florida State fans are going to travel as well. We know that. If LSU comes in there and put a slacking on Florida State, I might have to change my pick. And I know some people like, oh, it's too early.
That's too early.
It's too early, but bro, we knew LSU had something. Week 3, by week 3, we knew they was something. We were like, what is going on over there?
Well, yeah, that's because they were beating people by like 50.
When they had Joe Burrow just throwing darts and throwing touchdowns everywhere, like
beating everybody by 50.
Exactly.
Except for Texas, they should have lost that game.
They definitely should have lost.
If Tom Herman had a brain, they would have lost.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah. So we've got all 4. We've got Pac-12, got the Big Ten, we got the ACC, we got the SEC. Now it's time for the Big 12. Now it is time for the Big 12. So, my man, who do you have in the Big 12 championship?
Texas versus Kansas State.
Okay. I feel that. And who do you have winning?
Texas.
All right. I know I said some stuff last week where I had Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. This is the one where I don't know. Hear me out.
You don't know what?
I don't know who's going to be the opponent.
Oh, the opponent? Well, the opponent would be the second place team.
Right. I know that. Duh. Jerk. I know that. But for me, I was looking at Kansas State. Right. I do believe Kansas State has they have a lot of people coming back. They have a lot of talent. They always play hard. So I've always looked at Kansas State as that team.
Mm-hmm.
But bro, have you looked at Oklahoma State's schedule?
Yeah. Oklahoma State?
Yeah.
Yeah, do they avoid everybody?
That's my point. That is my point. If Oklahoma State literally avoided everybody, they don't play Texas.
You know why they did that, right? Because they want Oklahoma State to be relevant. They want Mr. Mullet to be relevant.
They don't play Oklahoma. They don't play Texas. Who else do they not play?
They play Oklahoma, and then they play Kansas State. But then they play all the newbies.
Right. They play all the newbies. Listen, I think if Oklahoma State can get past Oklahoma, which I think it can, we talked about this the last game of the year, Bedlam. This may never happen again. This is the last big.
They moved up Bedlam this year. It's not the last game of the year anymore.
Oh, you're right.
It's like week 10 or week like it's later.
So they moved it up a couple weeks. Right. They moved it up a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It we don't know how that's gonna go. That I don't with those 2 games, Bedlam, I never just say it's a walk away. It's
going to be a snooze fest.
So right now I'm leaning Kansas State, but I'm gonna pencil in Oklahoma State right up under.
Okay.
I still have Texas winning the
Okay.
Big 12. I think it's only right.
I'm gonna say this real quick.
What's that?
If it ends up being Texas versus Oklahoma State's gonna win the Big 12, and because the rest want it to be that way. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Why are you doing that?
If it ends up being Texas versus Oklahoma State, State's gonna win the Big 12, and the rest are gonna make sure it's gonna happen that way.
Don't do that to me. That's gonna piss me off. Don't do that.
That's what's gonna, unless Texas blows them away. That's exactly how it's gonna happen.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What you got? Give it to me.
Oh, Texas versus Kansas State. Texas wins the Big 12.
Texas wins the Big 12.
Yeah.
All right. So there you guys have it. Make sure you guys leave your comments in the below. If you have any comments, I think Harish, we got some more that just came through. Yep. If you guys want to talk about, so when are we going to talk about NCAA football game coming back
after the season? We'll talk about it. Here's the thing about NCAA, right? We'll get chunks and pieces of information. We'll talk about it as the season goes on and as that information comes about. But really, until we get something that's worth talking about, there's nothing to talk about. We know the
right. And just guys, just so you guys know, that me and Harish have definitely played this game for a long time. And Jimmy Trey Dizzle was definitely at EA. I don't know, were you at EA at the same time?
Yeah, we were.
Okay. So that has been one of our, I would say, we have a core group of people. And again, since the game has not been out, it's been really kind of difficult to get the boys back in town. But let me tell you something. The moment that this game has a release date,
we ready.
We already have we have a core group of people. We have the main four in the group right now. When that game actually gets announced, I can definitely see other people just kind of coming out of the woodworks and getting added to the group and making that a thing. Because we normally fill up our group. It's 13 teams. We normally fill out 13 teams. So when that game does come back, we'll discuss it if we get information as it comes out. Just like any other NCAA news or college football news that comes out, we'll definitely, guys, keep you posted. But for right now, we want to go ahead and get into the playoff predictions. There's only 4 teams that can make it this year. This is the last year. This is the last year of the 14 playoff. Next year is 8. But for 12. Right now,
next year is 12.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, 12.
Yeah.
For right now, it's 4. 4. Shout out to Nova. So so now we're gonna get into our 4. My man Harish, take it away. Who do you have in your playoff?
I really want to get into Texas and Rice a little bit, so I'm just going to name my 4 and we can move on.
Right.
I have USC, Florida State, Georgia, and Michigan.
Okay. And who do you have as your national champion?
Michigan.
Wow. Okay.
I really like Michigan this year, man. I don't know what it is. I think it finally is going to come together for Jim Harbaugh. I'll take it.
If they're gonna play like they did last year and be better than that, and who's stopping? Who's stopping?
Will. That's what I'm banking on, that they will.
Who's stopping? So for me, and I really struggle with this. I made a prediction last year that I made a prediction last week saying that Texas was gonna get screwed. This is who they're gonna get screwed by. And hear me out when I say this, because I've changed it up quite a few times. I think Ohio State gets in. I think Georgia gets in.
Okay.
I think LSU gets in.
Really? Okay.
Right.
So 2 SEC schools.
Right. So 2 SEC schools, and I think Michigan gets in there. I think it's another situation again where 2 SEC schools gets in there, two Big Ten team schools get in there and they just clash. And listen, I know a lot of people feel like, oh, well, what about Florida State? What about Texas? What about this? What about that? I think that Texas and Michigan State, I think Texas, Ohio State could proverbially have the same record at the end of the year, but because of that matchup being so heavy, that it just like they're just clearly. Unfortunately, and I hate this. I'm glad we're switching over to where we're going right now to a bigger playoff. But I think they're just going to be it's about the best of the best, right? And even though I think Texas will win the Big 12 championship, I don't think that Alabama loss. What we would want on a perfect world, we want Alabama to throttle everybody else, but lose to Texas. Because that makes that win look really, really good. But I think, like you said, Alabama's going to have a quote unquote down year where they may lose 2 or 3 games, and that's not going to hold well. And at the end of the year, I think Ohio State, they could drop and lose to Michigan, or they could win and beat Michigan and still get in because of how significantly good they look. And because especially if it's a close game against Michigan, Ohio State, I don't see them letting Texas in over an Ohio State. I don't see them letting a Texas in with the same record over a Michigan if Michigan looks that good. I just don't see it. And let's also like be honest. The ESPN and a lot of these other guys, they like to talk about Texas being good, but they don't want to see Texas being great. They want them to be good because they generate money.
But if Texas is great, they generate money.
If Texas is great, they generate money, but they will find some way to not let Texas into that playoff. Now, next year,
I would disagree. Here's the thing: if it comes down to it, right? Let's just say Ohio State and Texas have the same record, but Texas wins the Big 12. I think they would pick Texas over Ohio State because it would generate more money.
That's fair.
Right? The only reason why I don't have Texas in the college football playoff, even though they win the Big 12, is because they lose 2 games.
Right.
I have them losing back.
You have them losing 2. I have them losing 1.
Right. In your scenario, however, I think they would pick Texas over you also have Ohio State in there.
But I also have
why would they pick Michigan over Texas? A one-loss conference champion. I don't think they would pick that. I don't think they would.
I also have Texas losing later in the season.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
They end up winning the Big 12 championship.
They do end up winning the Big 12 championship, but the way that the scheduling is set out, the way the Big 10 and the Big 12 matchups are played, the Big 12 matchup is always early. It's always early. It's going to be December 4th or 3rd or something like that. Big Ten championship is going to be the Big Ten and the SEC championship games are always the night games. That's going to be the last thing that we see.
So, dude, TCU just made it after losing in the Big 12 championship.
That is true.
They lost the morning of. That was their. People forget Kansas State won the Big 12 last year.
Yeah, people do forget that Kansas State won.
And I think Michigan and Ohio, Michigan ends up winning, right? The Big 10.
Mm-hmm.
The last game, Georgia crushed it, and TCU still gets in.
Right.
They still got in, losing the morning of.
Yeah, you're right. Right. I think that there's proverbial hate against the University of Texas.
There's always going to be proverbial hate. That's why we're so great.
From a coaches and. I don't feel like I just feel like they love those teams more. They got more of a feeling or more of an affection for those big name brands. Not discrediting Texas, not saying that Texas isn't a big name brand. They are the biggest brand, but for some reason, when it comes to football, they love those brands. Anyway, let's move on. My national champion. I forgot to put my national championship. My national champion. Believe it or not, I think it's going to be Ohio State.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Ohio State.
Let's
get to the nitty gritty, though.
Real quick, real quick, I'm going to address this comment. Did you see the questionnaire they sent to colleges for it? Yeah, I mean, they sent out a questionnaire in July. They want teams to send out their rivalries. Look, EA right now is in a mode of trying to get all their information together. They're trying to just make sure everybody provides all the information. There's still the whole NIL thing, player likeness. I think there's a lot of stuff that's up in the air. Like we mentioned earlier in the show, we'll talk more about NCAA game. Trust us, we will talk about NCAA when NCAA news is available, right?
Hell yeah.
But we've got one last thing to talk about. Texas plays in 20 hours or so. We've got to talk about Texas versus Rice.
Right.
I'll let you take it.
Okay. Here's a question that you probably cannot answer because you won't even think about it. But this quarterback has played Texas 3 times. Can you name the starting quarterback for the Rice Owls?
BJ Daniels.
Okay, I didn't think he was going to remember that.
That's the clown show. That was the quarterback at West Virginia.
JT Daniels.
JT Daniels. Yeah, there you go.
JT Daniels will be starting quarterback.
Yeah.
He's familiar with Texas. He played at Georgia. He played at West Virginia. And now he's going to be playing at Rice.
And get beat by 50.
And they're going to get butt Rice. I think they will, Rice will pull out the guns. They'll throw their little fancy stuff out there early, which will shake up Texas a little bit. But once they settle in, boat race. I think it's a boat race. Honestly, by the middle of the fourth quarter, end of the third quarter, maybe even the beginning of fourth quarter, I think there'll be a big enough space to let some backup guys get some backup guys in it. And I believe it's going to be Malik Murphy time.
I agree. I think Malik Murphy's the backup. I think it's going to be like in the second quarter. I think this game's going to be over really quickly. It's almost like a preseason game, right? I think the Texas offense gets one quarter. It's probably like 21, 28, nothing, maybe 35. I think they get up out of there. They take their bags and they sit down. I think you'll see a lot of Malik Murphy because I think he's the backup.
I definitely think we're going to see a lot of him. I can't wait to actually see him. We already know.
Never really seen him play.
Yeah, we never seen him play. We know what the other quarterbacks can do. We know what 3 can do. We know what 8 can do. We know what Ja'Tavion Sanders can do. We know what those defensive backs are going to do. Another guy I definitely want to see, Anthony Hill.
Yep.
Of course, I've been a big Cedric Baxter fan. CB4, I've been rooting for him. I'm really hoping that he can make an impact as soon as he steps on the field. I would like to see a lot of powerhouse football. I'm not going to lie. I know we're not going to – Sark is not – so you guys are aware, look at the camera, Sark is not opening the playbook for Rice.
It's what's crazy?
You're not going to see.
Hear me out. And listen to Orange Bloods earlier today, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't open it. I think Sark should open up the playbook.
Why?
Here's the thing, and the thing that we got to think about is like, the more you force Bama to prepare for, the better. If you show them everything, right? And I didn't think about this until they mentioned it. If you show them, let's just say you show them everything, they're going to prepare for all these different formations. They're going to see a lot of different things, but then you can then throw in the wrinkles to all those formations. So they might see base alignment of all these formations, let's just say. But then it allows you to throw in wrinkles to all of those formations, and they won't expect the wrinkles.
This is how I expect Texas to play against Alabama next week. And I know we're jumping ship, but you're going to see the basics. You're going to see your screen passes. You're going to see a lot of play action pass. You're going to see a lot of tight end seams. You're going to see a lot of jet routes, a lot of stuff like that, right? You're going to see some shotgun. You may even see a little bit of no huddle. Next week, and we'll talk about it next week, you're going to see a totally different Texas team. I don't want to say too much, but because I could go on another hour, and we don't want to do that. I can see the DNA and what you're going to see in Texas is what you're going to see the base alignment that you're saying. You're going to see a lot of that, right? You're going to see some running. You're going to see some play action. Next week, you're going to see something completely different. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot for Alabama to digest next week. So I'll keep it at that. Again, I'm looking forward to it. I don't care about scores. I just want them to win big. I want them to be dominant. I want them to put their foot on their throat from start to finish. From start to finish.
Who is one guy that you want to see play that could have an impact for this team throughout the season?
For me, I'm gonna stick with CJ Baxter. I want to see how what is he gonna do? Is he gonna be a power back? Like, I don't necessarily know a lot about him. I've seen highlights of him, and he's usually just outrunning people. Like, how are they gonna get him into space? Are they gonna? I know he can catch. I know that's one thing that he can do. That was one of the big things they were talking about. Like him, he's very versatile. He can get out. He can do a lot of things. Similar to Roschon and similar to Bijan, they were able to get out. They could run routes. They could catch. They could They could block. They could do a lot of things. They can get in between the tackles. So that's what I'm looking for. I just want to see how they use this new toy, how they use this new weapon. Also, A.D. Mitchell, and Isaiah Neyor.
Yeah, I'm very curious about Isaiah Neyor.
I want to see if he's okay. You know, a knee injury can do a lot. Can do a lot. I've been blessed that I've never really had anything but a cracked rib there too. But I've been very blessed to not have to have any major injuries as far as like knees or ligaments being torn or anything. Like, I've been very blessed. But I know that that can be a long process for a lot of people. Thank God technology is moving the way it has moved. But yeah, I would like to see how he goes as well.
I really want to see DJ Campbell.
Okay.
Because DJ Campbell, if you don't know, is announced the starter at right guard.
Right, he is right guard.
Yep. So I'm very excited. I think if he can fit in well and you solidify that right side of the line, I think it could be a special season.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right. Well, did we happen to have anything else? Did we have anything else that we want to cover before closing out?
No, hook 'em. I'm ready to roll, man. I'm ready to run through a wall right now.
I'm looking forward to College Game Day coming back.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm hoping Lee is there. I'm hoping Lee's healthy and is in good shape. They brought in Pat McAfee as a permanent spot guest host or commentator. So I'm looking forward to that. Man, we get a 3-day weekend. We get football for 5 days. We started out yesterday and we're going to Monday. So I'm looking forward to it, guys. Again, hook 'em. Let's beat Rice. Let's move on to Alabama. But let's make sure that we take care of the let's take care of the guys first. These guys first, which is the Rice Owls. So there's a 2:30 kickoff tomorrow. It's going to be hot. So if you're out there and you're tailgating, make sure you drink your water. make sure you put down them beers. If you need to sit down, take a seat. Because that's important. Make sure that you follow us on fanbattlesports.com for all your Longhorn needs. Also, like I said, my man Harish, if you're into the pro game and the NFL game, he's got a podcast where they talk about the AFC South. And they have the AFC South Fan Battle podcast. So make sure you follow and subscribe to them. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Longhorn Fan Battle. Like I said, my man has been doing great work. And we do engage and talk to people. No matter what team you have or what your favorite team or what team you hate, We'll talk to you. We'll talk college football. We'll talk it all day. So just make sure you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe, please. It really helps us out a lot. Anything else, my man?
Hook 'em. I'm ready to roll.
Hook 'em horns, guys. See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.
Go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone.